Melanie here with Vintage Hill Studio. Today I have an interactive slotted card that looks like this. It's not a new idea, but I've never made this card before either, so I thought I'd give it a try. I'm using this Kraft Noir paper from the Paper Studio. It is Kraft and it has some glossy images where the black ink is. So my card base is 5 by 7 inches. I cut a mat that is 5 by 7 inches as well, and I'll get that adhered to the card front. And then we will move on with these dies. These are just rectangular dies, kind of like label dies. Use whatever you have. Never stress about what you have or don't have. You could even cut this with a paper trimmer if you wanted to. And then I went over to my ephemera pack here from Tim Holtz. This is called the Botanicals. And I love so many of these images. I wanted to pick something that didn't detract from this beautiful paper, but instead complements it. But I also have to be cognizant about like the antennae. So you can see on the yellow one, the antennae are connected to the wings. And then on the orange one, they are not connected to the wings, they're separate. And what we're going to do is fold this butterfly in half so that it fits through this slotted opening. So you want to be very cognizant about anything that might give you trouble as far as slipping back and forth through this little slotted element that we're going to make. Okay, moving on here. I'm bringing over my Sizzix Big Shot die cutting machine, and I'm going to situate this little rectangular die a little over to the right. I thought that made it a little more interesting than just putting it right in the center, because as this card opens and closes, the butterfly will end up on the inside of the card. Therefore, that's the interactive part of this. And with that said, I wanted to maybe stamp the sentiment on the inside of the card to the left of where the butterfly will be sitting. This is hard to explain, so just hang in there with me and you'll see how this works. So I've used a little bit of washi tape and I've positioned that die where I want it, making sure that when my butterfly is open on the front, the wings don't overhang on the side, so that you don't want to have an issue getting this in and out of an envelope. So you can see I put this around my plate because you don't want to cut through the front and the back of your card. You want to only cut through the front of your card. So if you will sandwich it around one of your cutting plates, you can see it's only going to cut the front part of my card. So I'm gently removing my tape here, and I will pop out my little rectangle cut out. There you go. Now I'm taking 2 pieces of black cardstock and I'm going to quickly just trace around my butterfly. This doesn't have to be exact, just trace around it. It's a rough tracing here, and then I'm going to bring over that washi tape again. Can you see that? I'm going to bring over the washi tape and tape these 2 pieces of paper together because I need 2 identical butterflies cut out of this black. So I'm just cutting out the silhouette of this butterfly. And again, I will be cutting to the inside of my pencil marks because I want this to be a little smaller than the yellow butterfly that will show from the outside of my card. I really don't want this black to show from the front. So just take your scissors, do a very easy cutout. Don't worry about all the intricacies around the wings, and come up with 2 black cardstock butterfly images. Just the silhouettes here. You can use any color you want. I chose to use black because that is in my paper and also on this butterfly. Okay, there you go. Now the next thing we want to do is just bend our butterflies in half, give that a little crease along the body. And then you're going to do the exact same thing with both of the black silhouettes. So there you see we've got our butterflies all creased right down the middle. And if you need to, like my black cardstock is not heavyweight, it's just a regular weight cardstock, and I could do this with my fingers, but if you need to reinforce anything with a bone folder, feel free to do that. Now you're going to take each silhouette and just add glue to one side of the wings. So I'll start here on the left side, leaving the right side unattached. And then I'll switch to the other silhouette and get that put down on the right side here. Again, leaving the other side unattached. So now you have a silhouette on the left and a silhouette on the right, and the outermost black wings are not attached to anything. Can you see that? Okay, so the next step, this is really a very simple card, and I love the interactive element with the slot. So now I'm just going to take a little tape runner, because for me this does an automatic adhesion and it won't move after I close the card over this tape runner. So you can see I have my butterfly opened up, so the yellow part is facing down on the outside of my card, and this is those two black silhouette wings that aren't adhered to anything. Got a little tape runner on the back of each one of those. I pressed down the back of my card, closed it right over that tape runner, and now you can see how this card is going to work with the interactive element here. Okay, I could have left this beautiful paper alone. It is lovely with just the butterfly and the Kraft in black, but I decided to go a step further because sometimes you don't know when to quit, right? You don't know when to quit. So I'm using some very simple colors with my Zig Real Brush markers. This is the clean Real Brush markers. It's kind of like a watercolor consistency. I'm not sure if it's ink or if it's diluted watercolor. What is in the Zig Real Brush markers? But I'm just kind of using the hash marks that are already on the paper as a guide to where to put the darker color, and then I'll bring over my water brush and pull the color out. And by doing that, you're creating your own shadows and highlights. So again, if you have any paper or anything you're working on that has the little hash marks that give you an idea of where the shading or shadows would be, use those. Use those to your advantage. And the reason I like using the water brush with these markers is because when it dries back, it will dry a shade lighter. So it is subtle enough not to take away from the focal point, which is that beautiful yellow and black butterfly. So I'm not going to go through and color all of these flowers on the video. You can get the gist of how to do this and choose what colors you would like to see with your butterfly. I'm just going to do this one large flower and then some of the leaves. And you can see I added a little yellow in here just to give it a variation on my flowers and a little more interest. Okay, and then next I'm going to add a little bit of green, doing the same thing, concentrating the color along those hash marks. And because this is a glossy and a Kraft combination paper, the Kraft takes the color very well. It absorbs it so well. And like I said, it will dry back a shade lighter. And it is just perfect for this. And then the glossy part kind of resists the ink. So it's almost like an embossed image, except you didn't have to do any of the embossing. The paper is doing all of the work. And I love how this came out. Hey, I am so happy you dropped by today. Maybe you could give this card a try yourself. You could see how easy it is to recreate this. And if you have any craft paper, just keep in mind you can use watercolor pencils, watercolors, or markers and create your own beautiful background paper. If you're new to the channel, I would love to have you subscribe. Leave me a comment, a thumbs up. If you're returning, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you join me every week for fun projects. And I want to wish you a lovely day and happy crafting, everyone.